If you are a baseball fan interested in the MLB draft, this upcoming week is as important as any week on the calendar with the College World Series coming up. This is your final chance to get a look at some of these top draft prospects in this year's class. And here they are performing on the highest stage. So it's as good as time as any to get tuned in to what's going on in the 2026 MLB draft. Here are some of my top draft prospects that will be in Omaha this week, as well as a few under the radar names that will probably have their name called this July. Starting with Alabama, my top ranked draft prospect in Omaha, Justin LeBron, comes in at 13th on my draft board, debuted at 6 at the beginning of the cycle. A bit of a polarizing profile at this point, has all the tools in the world, has all the talent to get it done, but has had a hard time putting it together in SEC play each of the last 2 seasons. There's a lot of hit risk in there, but there's also potential for plus power at shortstop where he's projected to stick, regardless of the fact that the defense has been a little shaky this year. But he has the tools to do it. It's soft hands, it's elite athleticism, it's a strong arm. And this will be his last chance to really prove that he can put it together with the talent he does have. And more importantly, it'll be his chance to lead Alabama to its first ever College World Series title. Justin LeBron is the only player from Alabama on my top 100 draft board. But outside of LeBron, you have a few intriguing starters that headline the rotation. Junior right-hander Tyler Fay and junior left-hander Zane Adams. Tyler Fay at this point, big physical starter that has performed throughout the year, is doing it in the tournament. This is a profile that kind of pushes its way up into the top 5 rounds by the time the draft comes around. Zane Adams as well has some intriguing tools in there. Teams will likely be calling for him as well. And then Brady Neal, your catcher. This is the bat that has driven your success offensively if you're Alabama. He is a senior, so a senior signee is probably going to be later in the draft. But he also still has not turned 22, which is rare for a senior. So he does have age on his side. Brady Neal is another interesting player to tune into as well. Then moving on to Oklahoma. This is a team that doesn't have a single player on my top 100 draft board, but plenty of players throughout their roster that have a chance to go somewhere in this draft. My favorite, in my opinion, is third baseman Camden Johnson. Somewhat of a higher floor to me, 70 grade speed, plays a solid third base, strong arm, could probably plug in most positions on the field. The power is lacking a little bit, but it's contact skills that hold up. He's kind of a sneaky player in this draft. Dayton LaChance and Brendan Brock, two players that have shared duties behind the plate as catchers. Brendan Brock has the better chance to stick behind the plate defensively. Dayton LaChance has the higher ceiling offensively. And then Jackson Willits, your shortstop. If you recognize that last name, it's for good reason. His younger brother Eli was the first overall pick last year in the draft to the Nationals. Obviously, there's bloodlines there. His dad is the coach at Oklahoma. Plays a decent shortstop. There's some interesting tools there at the plate as well. Then your pitching staff features a couple of interesting arms. Cam Johnson, LJ Mercurius, two guys that have kind of had a hard time reining in the command, but there's some interesting breaking stuff and some velocity in the fastball as well. Texas Longhorns have two guys on my top 100. Outfielder Aiden Robbins comes in at 72. Catcher Carson Tinney comes in at 82. Two guys with just some very legit bat speed and raw power, defensive upside as well. Both of them have legitimate hit risk in there too, but just two guys that have just really balled out in the SEC this year. Two guys in which I think are slam dunks to be day one picks. I don't know if I would bet on either of them going in the first round at this point just because of the risk with the hit tool, but just some really serious powers, really serious bat speed, and then of course the upside defensively that I think teams will be calling for on day one. You also got Ruger Riojas, a senior pitcher, probably the best senior on the board this year, just an absolute workhorse, deep pitch mix, and has done it all year in the SEC. Then finally, the Georgia Bulldogs. This is, of course, a team loaded with talent. It starts with your catcher, Daniel Jackson, Golden Spikes finalist, 25-25 season as a catcher. He comes in ranked 58th on my draft board. That's kind of becoming a theme here. Catchers in Omaha that have a real legitimate steam as draft prospects. Daniel Jackson is as good as any of them. Some above average to plus power in the bat. Still a split camp on whether he's going to be a catcher, but I think it's a split camp for a good reason. He's such a great athlete that he can probably plug into another position and hold his own and just let that power profile play at the plate. If he is able to stick at catcher, That's a bonus. If a team believes he can stick at catcher, I think this is a guy that can go in the first round. There is some hit risk at the plate, some swing and miss concerns there. But what I think he does provide elsewhere in terms of power, in terms of athletic upside, what he can do on the bases, what he could potentially do on the field, really outweighs that. And this is a player I think I would be comfortable taking with a first round pick. Joey Volchko comes in right behind him. Jackson's at 58 on my board. Volchko comes in 5 spots behind him at 63. Big starter's frame, very physical, very strong, has some really interesting stuff. It's an outlier cut ride fastball that he can run up into the upper 90s, and then he can really spin a slider. For him, it's all about finding the strike zone and being able to develop some off speed offerings. But another guy, with what he does have at the moment, this is a profile for a team selecting late in the first round if they really like the present stuff and they really believe that they can add on to what he has. This is another potential first rounder. Dylan Vigneault will follow Joey Volchko in the rotation in Omaha. Has had a pretty good season, has had a hard time in the postseason to this point. He's also on the older side of the junior class. He'll be almost 23 on draft day, which will hurt his stock a little bit. Another guy like Volchko with some interesting stuff. 2 more hitters for Georgia, not found on my top 100. Ryan Lujo, this is a sophomore in his first season in SEC. Showed some really impressive bat-to-ball skills last year at Dayton. Those bat-to-ball skills held up at Georgia this spring, and then he added some necessary power to the profile as well. So that's a very underrated, sneaky prospect there. And then Trey Phelps. We know he's got power. We know that the bat-to-ball skills have come along for him as well. Was draft eligible last year, but decided to stick at Georgia. Still kind of positionless in a sense. He's done a decent job holding down third base for Georgia this year. It's kind of a split camp on where he might end up defensively, whether it's a corner outfield spot, whether it's third base, second base. The fact that he doesn't have a position will hurt him, but this is a bat that I would feel comfortable betting on with a day 1 pick, but still tough to see where he might land. A strong showing in Omaha this week might help him a little bit in that case. Those are my top draft prospects on that side of the bracket: Alabama, Oklahoma, Texas, and Georgia. In part 2, I will cover the other side of the bracket.